Okay, well, I think we'll call the meeting to order. We have the 3 regular members, myself, Bill Neal, and Tammy Niedzwiecki, and we have 2 alternates, Marie and Richard, so we will seat both of them. And that if there is a quorum, we have 5, so we're having an official meeting, and I will, now that it's called to order, I will turn it over to Sam, who's still muted.
Yep. All right, so I just unmuted. So I have a presentation. I'll start off the presentation. Then Margot Burns, our Rivercog's environmental planner, will read and facilitate the questions and discussions. We'll first go through all 5 questions and then start from the beginning, and then I'll come back and do a wrap up. So let me go to the PowerPoint. Let's see if I can share my screen. All right, I can. Great.
Unbelievable.
Yep. All right. So good evening, and thank you for inviting us and having us this evening. We were very worried that because of the storm, we might not be able to do tonight, but I'm glad to see that the commission has a quorum and we're able to be here. My name is Sam Gold. I'm the executive director of the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments. We also go by Rivercog, so you probably are familiar with us. And joining me in tonight's presentation is Margot Burns, who I just introduced. At this time, I would like to recognize your 2 representatives on the Regional Planning Committee who represent Westbrook, Bill Neal and Marie Farrell. I don't know if Bill or Marie have anything that they want to say of welcome, but they've been great members over the years, and they represent your interests at all of our meetings, but also in this process. So, but I'm sure you'll get a chance to say hello when we go to the discussion. Frank DeFelice, the chair of the Regional Planning Committee, he's been trying to make it to a number of these meetings. I don't see him in attendance, so I will move on. Okay. All right. We would like to begin this meeting with a brief presentation, followed by an open discussion of the 5 questions, which we hope were circulated in advance of the meeting. And why don't I get into this? So why are we here? As a reminder, Rivercog, the Regional Planning Committee, the RPC, and our consultant, Fitzgerald & Halliday, are working on the first regional plan of conservation and development, the Rpocd, for the Lower Connecticut River Valley region. On June 29th and on July 7th, we held a region-wide introductory presentation that offered a primer on Rivercog, the Regional Planning Committee, and the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development. You can find that introductory presentation on our project website, rivercogregionalplan.org, and I'll give you that address again later on in the meeting. But I'm going to give you a brief recap of that introduction presentation. So if you haven't seen it, you know where we're coming from. We will then spend a few minutes explaining what we mean by region and why we think regionally. And the purpose of this discussion is to focus on perspective. Although we are here to learn about your town's issues and goals, it is important to keep in mind that we are creating a regional plan. So our focus should be on how your town's issues and goals fit into the region as a whole. We will highlight some examples of this by showcasing a few goals from your POCD, your old POCD, not the one that you're currently working on, and comparing them to the goals of other towns across the region. Then we will turn the rest of this meeting over to you to discuss your responses to the 5 questions that were circulated before the meeting. So these are the key takeaways from the introduction presentation. At the introductory presentation, we set out to answer a few key questions, which I will briefly recap. Why are we here? As I mentioned at the onset, we are creating the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development. What is Rivercog? Rivercog is a regional planning organization for the Lower Connecticut River Valley. What is the RPC? The RPC is made up of appointed representatives from each of our 17 municipalities and has been tasked to oversee the creation of the RPOCD. And what is the RPOCD? It is a visionary document, a visionary policy document that guides land use patterns in the region over the next 10 years. Also, at the introductory presentation, we answer the question of why we think regionally. Because thinking as a region can help our municipalities solve common problems and achieve common goals. But what do we mean by region? Specifically, we're talking about the lower Connecticut River Valley, which is made up of 17 municipalities: Chester, Clinton, Cromwell, Deep River, Durham, East Haddam, East Hampton, Essex, Haddam, Killingworth, Lyme, Middlefield, Middletown, Old Lyme, Old Saybrook, Portland, and Westbrook. Each of these municipalities is unique in character, but their geographic proximity means that certain common conditions will exist among them, and certain issues and goals will be shared. In addition, many issues and goals will have impacts across municipal boundaries. What happens in Westbrook could impact and reach Clinton or Old Saybrook very easily. The unique character of each municipality also means that each has its own strengths and weaknesses. Our municipalities are interdependent, relying on each other in areas such as housing, jobs, infrastructure, and critical public services. As part of the regional plan, we will be examining these common issues.
Eric Reeve.
These common
Join the meeting.
As well as the areas where our towns are interdependent and provide a roadmap for coordination and cooperation. As part of this effort, hearing from you about what matters to your town is critically important. Although this is the first RPCD for the Lower Connecticut River Valley region, it is important to reiterate that we're not starting from zero. Our analysis of common issues and goals began with a review of municipal POCDs for all 17 municipalities. After our review, we compared the POCDs and found that they do, in fact, share a great deal in common. Let's look at some of the goals from Westbrook's current POCD. But first, I'd like to note that these goals were chosen to showcase the breadth of topics covered and were not meant to imply any level of particular importance or ranking. Number one, link open space with greenways and trails, encourage sensitive ownership of historic properties, enhance pedestrian and bicycle routes, develop a balanced approach to tourism, and 5, encourage housing diversity. When we look across the region at other municipal POCDs, these goals were widely shared. All 17 towns had goals related to establishing or linking open space and greenways. 12 towns had goals related to promoting education and sensitive stewardship of cultural resources. All 17 towns had goals related to improving bicycle and pedestrian connections. 16 towns had goals related to tourism and recreation, and all 17 towns had goals relating to diversifying housing stock. So overall, there are many, over a diverse set of different topic areas. Westbrook shares a lot of common policy issues with other towns in the region. But now it's time for us to hear from you. We've reviewed your plans and made regional comparisons based on data and our own professional experience, but you live in Westbrook and you have an intimate understanding of how Westbrook functions, what it needs, and what makes it special. Before we turn to the 5 questions, I'd like to go over some procedural matters. We will look at the questions one at a time, although I first will go through all 5 in advance. And we are estimating about 10 minutes of discussion per question. If there is extra time at the end, we can go back and discuss any of the topics in the 5 or answer other questions, but we would like to be respectful of your time and keep this, this entire presentation to about an hour. If you're able to, if you look on your screen and you're on a computer, you click on the participants button, you will see an option with listing all the participants and an option to raise your hand. That will signify that you would like to speak, and I will call on you. You can also raise your hand to the camera if you can't find that, that button, and we'll find you. Please keep your comments to about a couple minutes. We'd like to hear from as many people on the commission or other attendees as possible. And if you have more to say later on, we'll try to come back to you if time allows. If discussion on any of the questions ends before the 10 minutes, we'll move on. If we start approaching or exceeding 10 minutes, I'll give us a reminder to move on. Finally, we understand that these are some big topics to be discussed in only 10 minutes. We also realize that not everyone is comfortable speaking either on Zoom or in a crowd. So if you have any thoughts or comments on any of these questions and you weren't able to speak as part of this meeting, or you didn't feel comfortable speaking at this meeting, we encourage you to email our senior planner, Megan Juflis. Her email address will be on each slide, which is mjouflas@rivercog.org. Or you can reach out to your RPC members. We've set up an email address for the RPC members, and that is westbrookrpc@gmail.com. And those comments will go to your RPC members, Bill and Marie, and they'll also go to Rivercog for inclusion. So we want to make sure that we hear from everyone, even if there isn't enough time or this is not the type of venue that you feel comfortable speaking in. So, all right, so I'm going to go. So at this point, I'm going to turn over to Margot, and we will read through the 5 questions, and then we'll go back to have a discussion on each of them. So, all right, I'll take care of the slides, Margot.
Okay. All right, so we're just going to go through the 5 questions first, and then go through one of them, each of them one at a time, and try and stick to the 10 minutes, and then revisit at the end. So the first question is, what is your vision for the Lower Connecticut River Valley? The second question is, what do you see as your town's role in the region? The third question is, what are the challenges your town is facing that would be easier to address working regionally or with neighboring towns? The fourth question is, what do we do well in our region and what can we do better? And the fifth question is, how could a regional plan of conservation development support your town? So let's see, I just want to enlarge Sam's screen here. Okay. And Sam, you see the hands that will be raised, right? Will I see them? There we go. Okay. So the first question is, what is your vision for the Lower Connecticut River Valley? And remember to unmute yourself if you'd like to comment. Okay, Noel, let's see that you're. Are you there? Nope.
I don't know if Noel was trying to speak or not.
I'm unmuted. Thank
okay.
you, Sam. I'm unmuted.
Okay.
There you go. Would you like to speak, Noel?
Yes, I would. Well, you know, I have a bias here because I'm an active member and I'm in fact the executive committee of Rivercog, and I'm very familiar not only with this plan, but Sam has given us, as Janice and other people, updates at our regular meetings. So my vision is really just what Sam has outlined before. So many of the things, issues that we've identified are common issues of providing more affordable housing, developing our business and tourism. So my vision is to consistent with, I think, what the Rivercog is trying to do and representing all of our municipalities, all 17 equally. So my vision is no different than what Sam has outlined.
And maybe to clarify the question, if you were, trying to explain this part of the world to someone, and you were telling them about this place, what would you want to be able to tell them? What is your vision for this part of the world?
My vision for the Lower Connecticut Valley is the fact that it's a great place to live. It's got good school systems. There's a lot of tourist opportunities here. The Long Island Sound, all of these issues. Our resorts are here, our businesses, big and small, all of these things, I think, is a very healthy and encouraging environment to move into. I think we're also aware, just to illustrate that fact, because of the recent COVID epidemic, the number of people from New York City and other areas that want to move into the shoreline is further indicative, not just getting away from the city. I think they've come to see the value of all of our towns, what we have in common, the geography, the access to health, 9-town transit in terms of transportation, housing. And I think that we're very unified in what we're trying to do. And I think that sense of unity comes from the Rivercog and the monthly meetings we have. So my vision, as I said, I've outlined it that way, but I think we have so many attractive things that we can offer to anybody that wants to live in our region.
Okay.
Hello?
Yep, thank you, Noel. That was great. Would anyone like to elaborate on that or have a different vision? How about you, Marilyn? I know you have a vision and you have a wonderful plan of conservation and development, which you're in the process of updating. I know you just started it, the update.
Sorry, there were cars going by, so I muted myself and forgot. I think the first thing that Noel said is probably one of the most important, that it's a great place to live, should be a great place to live and work, and it should be a great place for everyone to live, which means we may need to kind of expand our housing stock to create more diversity, but it's a, you know, repeat myself, it's a great place. And I think we're also unified by the not only Long Island Sound, but the Connecticut River. And that gives us a lot of interest in the environment, a lot to protect in the environment. And I think we need to remember that too. And that's goes through all the towns, because you can't just say that the shoreline is the towns right on the shoreline. They're all connected with the Connecticut River.
So how about you? You do so much for the region. I know that you have a vision. Bill O'Neill. Is there another Bill? There you go.
I didn't hear who you said. Yeah, I mean, echoing what went before, we have lots and lots of open space and nature, including the McKinney Wildlife Preserve.
National Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah. I live next door to it and I can't spit it out. I think it should also be noted is you can get to New York or Boston in 2 hours. Public transport, highway, you know, there's some issues right now with COVID, but you know, I regularly use the train to be in New York for the day or a weekend. Same thing for Boston. And then New Yorkers and Bostonians can do the same thing to get here. So we have kind of the best of all possible worlds, is the water, the woods, and the connection.
I see Tony.
I think one thing, and Noel might have alluded to it, is I think we have to have an environment that makes it conducive for businesses to be here, to come here. Maybe some businesses moving out of New York might want to come into this region. I think that's important because it provides jobs for our people, and that enables them to live better lives.
Thank you. Anybody else before we?
This is Noel again. I think we can maybe summarize that with 3 words: quality of life. I think everything we're talking about is the quality of life that we offer in this region.
Isn't that the truth? I agree with you. Anybody?
I have something to say. Rick Newberg.
Okay, hi, Rick.
Hi. I'd like to see us keep our uniqueness. You know, we're a small town, unlike other towns, and that's what's so great about it. And I don't like seeing things get fouled up with overthinking things too much. I think the center of town is, I mean, like what someone said before, bringing in businesses too. I mean, like in Saybrook, they have that Waltz. It's such an awesome place. I don't want to see any of these these big box stores coming out here, any of that stuff. I want to see us be more traditional village type look. We're a boating town. I'd like to see us kind of, that strip going down Route 1 is beautiful. And we should embrace that, I think. I don't want to get away from that. I'm a little unhappy with some of the things we've approved with this that I was part of, and I'm like really unhappy with it. After, you know, this huge complex of vistas over there, I'm a little disappointed with. So, I mean, I'd like to see us get back to looking like a nice small village type town. You know, when you come down Route 1 and you see that magnificent church steeple, that kind of thing. It's beautiful, and you just can't. We don't want to lose that.
So many of our town centers are like that. So that is I think a regional vision for all of our towns. Even the city of Middletown has a quaintness to it. With its universities and.
I mean, even up there in Middletown or Durham, they built a Dunkin' Donuts up there that actually looks like it belongs there.
Yeah.
It's not like some stupid looking store like what we've done in the center of our town. So I'd just like to see us focus on that a little bit more and not get away from it. And someone was saying diversity. What does that mean? You want to see more diversity. What does that mean?
I think it was in reference to housing diversity, Rick.
Like what? What does that mean, housing diversity?
It means everything from big homes to small starter homes to affordable housing, you know, a range so that different people, you know, single people can afford to live here. You know, you volunteer fireman who's a single guy who can afford to live here, as well as the new teacher, in addition to those who have more money and want and choose to build a bigger house.
Yeah. No, I mean, we cycle through the houses around here. I think there's neighborhoods that are good for anybody to move into. I came in here, I'm living in the same house I've had here 20 years now.
Me too.
And
Me too.
Very small house. I mean, 1 bathroom.
Good for you.
It's an affordable house.
Great.
You know, I don't, the affordable housing they put in down the street for me, it's like $300,000 for a condo.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's qualifying.
I think I'm going to
But that's
jump
what they
here,
said.
Margot, because I think we're straying from the question. We may even be getting into some of the future questions. So maybe it makes more sense to move on to them.
Can I just make one comment, please?
Oh, sure.
I think the one other thing about the vision for the lower Connecticut River Valley is also we might want to play with the idea of strengthening resiliency because we are coastal towns. It should be part of our vision of how we're going to protect the coastline and furthermore, those that choose to live along there. We certainly owe them that protection. In addition to obviously protecting the other assets of the waterways, the greenways, and all the other things that the marshes that nature has provided that make this such a unique area.
We became very aware of storm resiliency and the importance of that this past week.
Yeah.
Didn't we though?
Yeah. And it was not even a hurricane.
Right.
Right, that's true. Okay, so let's see, let's go on to the next question as we're a little bit over our 10-minute limit. So the second question is, what do you see as your town's role in the region? So for Saybrook, many of them on the commission felt that their center was a shopping area for the region. Anthony?
You know, I see us as being very diverse. When you think about the type of things we have here, we have marinas, we have bed and breakfasts, we have big hotels, we have a mall, we have a major medical center, we have a huge manufacturing company, we have an insurance company, we got a lot of little stores. So I think that diversity in businesses is good.
I would agree with that. You do have quite a bit of, like you said, all kinds of different things in Westbrook, as well as beautiful parks and a refuge, and we offer many things to the region.
Yeah, and we have, people can go to the beach, but people can go walking miles and miles of trails, and that's so nice too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you have Chapman Mill Pond now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful area, beautiful canoe and kayak launch that's been redone. Is that finished? Haven't been down there in a little bit. The parking lot for the canoe and kayak launch.
It has not been redone yet.
It hasn't. Okay. Hopefully it will be soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're using it. A lot of people use it.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was done.
Yeah, I've used it.
It's always been usable. It's just, it has not been redone.
So what do you see as the role of your town in the region?
I think access to the water and access to the train and the highway.
Fine.
Well, we
dining.
also have the Middlesex Clinic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people come down from far away just to go to Bill's Seafood. I mean, it's a great place to get away,
That's a very good regional service that you
right?
We have a lot of great restaurants.
Do.
Some of the finest dining around.
Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Great. All right, anyone else, or should we go on to the next question?
Nope.
I think we should.
Okay.
No more?
Just to be honest, okay, we're talking about all these nice places and stuff, yes, the railroad station, easy access to 95 on and off. That's kind of a role, it's kind of a crossroads, for the highways and so forth, and coming from, the other areas and so forth. And yeah, Bill's Seafood and, and all that, and, yada, 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 we can go on and on. But do we really have a role in the valley here? That's part of this whole deal with the Rivercog. Okay, we're trying to identify ourselves with a role, and how do we go about achieving it that everybody is happy? And I think that's probably what we're looking at here, not what is our role right now, because do we really have a role other than the fact that we have the medical center, we have a couple of exits on the highway, but we don't have an established downtown. We have a coffee shop or two or three, which we're very proud of, and we support all our local businesses and so forth. One of the fellows said, the beautiful church, the downtown atmosphere, that's what we want to maintain. But yes, we need to have an economic balance here for everybody, to keep our people employed, so forth. That's the goal, I think, for everybody here. So it's not like, do we have a role? We don't have really a role yet. That's my opinion.
and I will say a couple of the answers from the previous question, talking about growing businesses, bringing businesses here, housing. Westbrook is a very diverse place, so you're providing multiple services for people outside of the boundaries of your town to a larger region. And so those are some of the things, but you're absolutely right. Westbrook is a larger, more diverse community than like Lyme. Lyme is never going to be an employment center, whereas Westbrook already is and could be more of one.
Well, that's it. And somebody said, if we're the housing and the diversity in housing, obviously we want to keep our people, employed here, and we have to have housing, and we have established groups, schools, and so forth. But where do we want to go from here, and how do we want to handle that? That is the key here. Again, without disturbing what we have in place and disrupting that too. And how do we want to attract, and where do we want to attract out-of-towners to? We're just seeing a huge, with the pandemic and so forth this year, Westbrook has been swarmed with out-of-towners here. Are they spending their dollars here? No. Are they crowding the beaches? Yes. Have they cost us money? Yes. Okay, so where do we go from here? How do we handle this in the future? Some people, I know, again, in my role, I want to hopefully some of these people find their way back to where they came from, okay, down here, just dealing with this stuff in the past several weeks. But we're dealing with it. We welcome everybody with open arms here, but how do we accommodate them once they are here? Okay, Sam, that's I need a lot of people come out and tell us what and how to do things.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, to hear from you. It's for you to tell us.
Yeah, okay, that's the point. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think that looking at the picture broader too, it isn't just what is Westbrook's role that is different from everybody else. It's that Westbrook is a partner in the region, and we all need to work together on so many different things. And I think that's really important to remember, that we're not all competitors, because if we're all competing for the same things, then we're just making it harder on each other and harder on ourselves. But
I agree with you. I agree with you, Marilyn. I agree with you. That's the point that I was trying to make. What is our role going to be within the region, and how do we attain, that role?
So I think as we go in, no, I'll call on you. I think you want to speak, but as the last couple of comments are going into the next question as to what are the challenges for your town. And I think just from the last couple answers that you gave, that many of the towns are facing exactly the same thing that you are right now. Because we are a region that people come to get away in many instances. And so
I see Marie also has her hand raised as well.
Noel, did you want to say?
No, I'm willing to speak, but Marie, do you want to speak first?
No, go ahead, please.
So I think your question that you're asking is, how can we address these things regionally? I think the idea that we're working regionally, just having this meeting tonight is important, because you're listening to what we want, but there's a commonality here. And I think we've identified what those are. We want a balance between big businesses and small businesses. We don't want to be overrun with people outside of our communities as much as we want them to come here. We want to maintain the unique character we have. We want to preserve the historic nature of our town. At the same time, we need to support our businesses. The economic development for us, at least at the small business, and what we're trying to do with our town center is a major challenge for us in our own plan of conservation development and the surveys that we're taking. Our town center and what we're going to do with that town center is the predominant issue that is coming out. Now, how we can work with that regionally, I'm not really sure, because that's a unique challenge for us. So anything regionally we can do to encourage businesses to stay here. Our Westbrook Mall is perhaps at the most 40 or 50% occupied. And you all know that jobs are being shedded in malls across the country. So how to keep what we've got to maintain the character, but still promote business, that's going to be important to our tax base. And about 80% of our taxes now come from private residences. The other 20% come from businesses. But when you look at that, that's the Lee Company, that's the mall, that's the marina, and that's the Water's Edge. So we've got to diversify our business to keep our tax base strong. That's my comments.
Okay, Marie.
all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Marie.
So the only thing I think I would add is the other challenges it probably piggybacks is the cost savings or, budget constraints that most of towns are facing, and whether or not there are opportunities regionally for us to have services together, even study the regionalizing of the education system. if there's opportunities there for us to, especially as a small town, to link with another town and see if there's some cost savings. And the other thing is, if you don't mind my adding, is sort of our regionally we have this challenge in terms of all the towns are looking at their green space sometimes individually, and whether or not we have this, we can link with recreation, green space, bikes, paths regionally is something else that would be an opportunity.
Okay. So
Okay, just real quick though. Okay, the bottom line is here with all of the towns, especially right here along the shoreline immediately. What's the challenge? The challenge is to have a good infrastructure. Number one, and Mr. Knapp's on here, Noel's on here too, and we go through this every year with the zoning, the planning, the plan of conservation, the board of finance, everything here. The downtown area here. In Westbrook, Old Saybrook is, maybe a step ahead of us, but we need the infrastructure down here, the septic systems and so forth. How can we draw businesses in if we can't handle this? That is the biggest problem that we have here. We're beating a dead horse every year. We need to take action. I think even as a regional group, people have to look at it. And this goes all the way down from the Connecticut River, all the way down to Old Saybrook and all of us, and even Clinton now. Clinton's starting to face some hard choices. They're right next door, and gosh, they had a pretty vibrant downtown area. Old Saybrook has a vibrant downtown area. You can go and walk at night. We don't have that here in Westbrook because our infrastructure itself cannot handle it. Sidewalk cafes and everything, that's what we need down here. Walking trails are great. Hey, whatever, walking trails are great. Kayaking's great. We have plenty of waterways here. There's plenty of ways to put a boat in. We need the infrastructure here. That's where you're going to bring the dollars. That's where people are going to come park and spend the money along the shoreline. And not just Westbrook, because we are speaking of Westbrook tonight, but Old Saybrook, Essex, Chester, Deep River, every town, Clinton, all the way up to Cromwell along the riverbed there. So that's, if you say what's the challenge, that is the challenge. That's your job, and how to come up with a plan there. That's my thoughts to do that. Go ahead. Sorry, move on to the next question.
Oh, that's okay. I think
that is the next.
I
I
was doing my homework, and I was just getting prepared tonight.
No, that's great. That's what we want you to do. So
Yep.
That's why we're here. Anybody else? I think I lost all the
I think we jumped ahead to the question number 3, so we might as well just continue it.
So what are the challenges your town is facing that would be easier to address working regionally or with neighboring towns?
I thought we were on 3.
Education, we talked about the septic.
We were on 3. I'm mute.
Thought we were on 3.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anybody else for that one? Because we can go on to 4 unless somebody else. Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm always the one that talks about communications infrastructure, but between COVID and the tropical storm and schools, I mean, we know that some of the people up the back roads had, before the storm, had a very hard time having both kids at home and 2 parents working and receiving internet. And I think it's the same throughout the region, where you have people with jobs that they can work from home, and they only can if they can really have good internet. And the way internet is financed is the number of payers per mile. So if we're spread out, it's never going to just happen by the internet providers saying, I really want to have 5 people on a 10-mile road. So I think, and it's the same in the whole region, and it's the same type of jobs that people have. And I think that the region really is going to need to lobby and push that we find different ways to finance that. And if the rest of Connecticut gets it and we don't, property values will collapse.
Thank you, Bill. That's, it's clear that COVID has taught us that internet, high-speed internet, is just like electricity and telephone service in the 1930s. It's a universal infrastructure that we all need, because because you need to educate kids, you need to be able to do work and conduct business, and without it, you can't. And so thank you. That's something we've heard and repeatedly across the region. And you're right, it needs to be dealt with on the regional and state level, and we can't be left behind.
Noel, did you want to say something?
No, I want to speak when we come to number 4. I have nothing more to add on number 3.
Anybody else for number 3? All right, let's go to number 4 then. So the question is, what do we do well in our region, and what can we do better?
I'll speak to the first part of that. What do we do well? The fact that we have a COG, the fact that 17 towns belong to that, the fact that we meet every month, and when we sit around that table, we don't speak as Democrats, we don't speak as Republicans, we speak for our region. And I'm always impressed of how we come together. So our municipal governments are involved with the region. So for example, when we do, we go for grants for transportation, the grants we get from the state, Sam, the staff that you have, the connections you have at the Capitol, all these things bring us together as a region. And I think that's a real strength. As I said, we put aside partisan issues, we get the job done.
I will vouch for that. We have very strong relationships between all of our first selectmen, and they have always worked together so well and honestly for all of our towns. It's I think it's really an amazing organization that you guys have supporting all of us. Anybody else? Bill?
Yeah, I think we really have to continue to look at expenses and things that can be shared. Things like 911, any kind of emergency services. I know the 169 towns in Connecticut all need to have all their own stuff individually, but I'm sure there are economies of scale within the region that, especially to take over from where there's fewer volunteers than there were 20, 40 years ago, fire, et cetera. So I really think we have to keep looking at that, and that's definitely a regional thing. I would also say disaster recovery, just raft of complaints across the board the last few weeks, the last few days, and there's probably regional opportunities there too.
Bill, I just want to just make a comment based on your previous comment about internet, is that what we've seen with COVID is how many businesses and organizations like Rivercog can function without, being physically present in an office. And I think that can help us allay some fears if, for example, there was some opportunity to do a shared service and people can interact with their town government or with that shared office digitally, electronically on their terms. There is potential there. And if we had some of those services, I'm sure that some of the staff who work in town hall who really may not feel comfortable interacting with random members of the public might feel more comfortable. So many of these things I think go hand in hand. So thank you.
I'd like to, this is Noel again, what do we do well as a region? I think Nine-Town Transit, which is a regional service, the executive director is very much involved with Rivercog, and I think that brings us together on transportation issues, and that service, I happen to be on that board, is expanded at a great deal, and I think that's a real asset to our particular region also. And the other thing I would say is an asset that's often overlooked because we take it for granted is the Middlesex Chamber, one of the best chambers, I think, in Connecticut, maybe in the country. Very involved with our municipal governments, COG is very much involved. So Sam, you can speak to the issue that was raised about a month ago. Like Tony, maybe you'd like to speak to this. COSA, when there's an issue that we have to look at, businesses and so on, we turn to the Middlesex Chamber, and they're an integral part of what the council government is trying to do.
Yeah, and I think, Stevie, just to follow up on that, one of the things that we could do better is to do more shared services. We've shown things like the 9-town transit works really well. Not one of our towns could afford to provide transportation on its own. So we may need to look regionally for other services too, because one of the things that most of the towns do well is to actually keep the taxes low. And that's a good thing. But at the same time, sometimes we sacrifice services because we try to do it alone. And if we work together on some things, we might be able to do more for the same amount of money.
Okay, good point. Anybody else before we go on to the last question? Okay.
Wait, what Noel, this is Tony, what Noel was alluding to, and this was brought up in our Westbrook Economic Action Initiative between me and Andy Schatz and Jim Crawford, is to bring together the businesses, not just of Westbrook, but of all the towns. And we brought this up to the COG, and I know Sam's and his crew is working on that. I don't know if you're still in the survey stage or you're talking about actually planning a Zoom meeting with all the businesses from the area.
Yeah, so I can quickly just cover that. So I had a good discussion with Jeff Pugliese at the Middlesex Chamber, and we discussed the idea of how to proceed. So Rivercog is working on some COVID response work for planning recovery, and a number of towns have done unmet needs surveys. And Chester and Old Saybrook have done some good surveys. We're going to be getting that out to all the towns. The idea here is to have some sort of workshops with businesses and potentially do some sort of similar unmet needs survey for our local businesses to find out what are the problems they're facing, and what, if anything, we can do to help them get through this really difficult time. So it is something that we're working on with the chamber to come up with some sort of approach, because it's we're going into one of the worst recessions that we've had in all of our lifetimes. So we need to do as much as we can to support not only our families and households, but also support our businesses. So thank you, Tony.
Anyone else? Okay, let's go on to question 5 then. And that is, how could a regional plan of conservation and development support your town?
I think we've mentioned a lot of those things already. The regional economic development and supportive businesses that Tony just talked about. Tourism in the area. It's not a town by town, it's regional. Pedestrian and bicycle routes, open space, watersheds, they all cross. They don't stop at the town boundary. So I think we need to remember that they are all regional and they should all be addressed in the plan.
Tony, remember there was a time that we were going to handle the septic issue regionally with 3 towns, but I guess that's history now, huh?
Oh, obviously, if the town, it seems like if you go the traditional sewer route, that's something that would probably want to be regional with multiple towns supporting. I think, there's certain things that really need to be addressed regionally, whether you go in the direction of regional schools or more regional departments for certain things. But going back to this question, we were thinking of, and particularly for you, working on the updates to your regional plan of conservation and development, and the things that you're identifying as priorities for the town. What kind of recommendations would you like to see in the regional plan to support your goals in town? Because you're all, every town is being buffeted by things that are bigger than them, and and really could use support from your neighbors and your siblings around you to help you all be successful. So we're really thinking this is more of a wonky question for planning commissioners, because you're writing a POCD now, and what would you like to see in the regional plan that would help back you up?
This bill, one thing that I think should be emphasized is the complete streets between towns, and really making sure that ConnDOT provides us with basically we have a whole bunch of little villages that are connected, and as of now they're mostly connected by things you can't walk on safely and can't bicycle on safely, and we're not that could enhance the quality of life if they were. And we just have to make sure that as things are done, they're done well in ways that keep that quality of life. And I think that's a regional thing because it's between towns.
It's also regional because there are so many state roads involved that cross the property lines, and support from Rivercog for making the state roads more pedestrian and bicycle friendly, and that type of thing is really important, because that's where we really need backup.
Yeah, and since most of the state representatives and senators cover more than one town, it really makes it easier for them to advocate if they have something that covers their whole area rather than multiple different things.
So remember, this they're all up for election this year. So make sure when you talk to them, talk to the candidates, make sure to drive that home.
How have you, as a town, been working on the East Coast Greenway?
East Coast Blueway or
Coast Greenway.
Greenway. It's been on our list, and we've been a little bit contacted by Clinton, and we have not done a hell of a lot, I would say.
So I think a number of the things that you mentioned before, resilience, storm resilience is really something that can support your town. Obviously, the transportation, economic development, communications. Any other policy or topic area that is something that you would want to see recommendations or mentions about in the regional plan that could help support you? And I'll remind you, one of the big uses of a regional plan is for seeking grants and providing support for your projects as you look for grants from the state or trying to make arguments for different things. We would like our vision for this regional plan is a document that is useful and relevant to each one of the towns. And the next time you do an update to your regional plan, we would love to see, citations or content from the regional plan, either shown in your regional plan, whether it be a future land use map or so it is being used, because you're the ones who have the power. The towns are the ones who have land use powers.
I think one thing that's important, I don't know what the answer is, but it's something that of big concern, is sea level rise. And I think that needs to be addressed in some way.
Yeah.
We'll probably tie in with, infrastructure improvements and maybe even, regional sewers or something.
Okay. I think Marie, you're muted, so I don't know if you were trying to speak.
Sorry, I was just echoing that to me was really the issue about resiliency. It wasn't so much just on the off storm, it's what are we doing for our vision for the future of the coastline, and how are we going to protect property owners, and what is going to be the plan for sewers, because they are inevitable and we've been promised them for 40 years. And really that strengthens us as a region to go to the state and get the funding that has to happen in order for it you know, for these towns to be able to afford it.
Yeah, no, it's
But
sewers.
I think we want to be careful and not just make it sound like the whole region needs sewers. What we need are some septic solutions, and there's a whole bunch of new technology, and there's a whole bunch of new solutions out there. It needs to be addressed, but let's make sure that it doesn't come across that we're all looking for sewers.
Yeah, sewer is incredibly expensive, as everyone knows, and where we have it, we need to make the most and best use of it and maximize it, and make sure that we're extending it in a way that makes sense financially. But at the same time, you know, there's public health issues. There's the health of Long Island Sound with failing septic systems. So it's a very complicated issue. But unfortunately, it's a very expensive one, which is the real impediment. But and it is something which the regional plan will address. How far we will go in identifying sewer areas, I don't think we will say that, you know, this part of Westbrook should have sewers now. But that's not our role. But I think it is. I think there is a clear role for sewer in the region. Just our overarching guidance is that. Before you go down that road, you got to make sure that it makes sense financially, because it's a very expensive proposition for a town.
Yeah, apologies. It wasn't my intent to push sewers per se, but more a solution for the environment and for the homeowners themselves.
And one of the things that would be helpful, and be helpful to many towns, is right now under our regulatory system in the state, a community septic system can only serve residential uses. You cannot have a community septic system for commercial uses. That's something, I mean, you could have it, but there needs to be regulation. And nobody's going to do the first one because they have to wait for the regulation to be written. One thing that would really help our whole area is something along that line to push the state to develop the regulations and make accommodations or make it so that there can be community systems for businesses, because then small areas could coordinate with a private septic system. Now it has to be municipal.
Right. That would be a good answer for our downtown.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I have one totally different thing is maybe just a little shout out to the regional conservation trust support for it, and possibility of mapping that could be maybe links between the towns to get all the different hiking trails and or one system. Essex and Old Saybrook and Westbrook and Clinton share a lot of connections, but there's no one place to get them.
So actually, that's a really good intro to something which will be sent out to you. Is we've been working with this Child and Holiday on a tool for people to it's an interactive map where people can show where they'd like to see bicycle and pedestrian improvements, where they see problems. We had a preview of this a number of months ago, right before COVID, at the RPC meeting, and that it is currently live. I will get you the website and stuff for that, and that could be a very useful tool for the residents of the region to sort of show where those connections really should be and where they aren't today.
So much to consider when we think about trails and connections like that, as far as stewardship of the trails and the connections, and you know, and it's expensive to steward things and takes volunteer time and things. So we need to really think holistically about those things.
All right. I don't know if there's any more questions. I can. If not, what I'll do is I can wrap this up, and then we can go back to open it up to general questions if there's any additional comments.
Thank you, Sam.
Great. All right, let me go back to the presentation. All right. All right. Thank you for your participation in these discussions. Your input is invaluable in the creation of the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development and will help us create a comprehensive picture of where we see the region in the next 10 years. As we previously mentioned, we know that these are big topics to cover in 10-minute increments. So remember, if you have any additional ideas that pop up after the completion of this meeting, please email them to our senior planner, Megan Juflis, MJOUFLAS@rivercog.org. You can also get information about the project on our project website, which is rivercogregionalplan.org, where you'll find documents and recordings of our introduction meeting and other content over the course of the project. You can sign up for email notifications for future meetings and future release of draft documents. We will also be sending things to each one of the planning commissions in the future. So if you are a planning commissioner, you'll get notified that way as well. We are going to be posting a recording of this presentation to rivercogregionalplan.org, so you'll be able to share this with other people in the community who didn't get to participate in this discussion, and they can follow up with their comments or ideas with us directly. You also can use your regional planning committee members, Bill and Marie, and talk to them, and they can bring us your ideas. And over the course of the next few months, as we are creating drafts of this regional plan, we'll be working very closely with them and the other regional planning committee members on this draft before we come back for more public involvement towards the end of the project. And as I said, you can, as these draft documents come out, they will be out for public review for all of you to comment on and get us your thoughts and ideas. So let's see. I'll go over the anticipated timeline for the project. So we kicked off the project in the winter of 2019, and we anticipate completing the regional plan in the spring of 2021. We're still in phase 2 of the process, which is the municipal meetings that we're doing with each of the 17 towns. And we should have that wrapped up by the beginning of September. Concurrent with this outreach process, our team has been hard at work at creating an existing conditions report for the region. The next step will be to get that existing conditions report to our regional planning committee and eventually out to the public, posted to our website. As documents get posted, this will be an opportunity for you to reach out to your town's RPC members with your thoughts, comments, or concerns on the key issues that will be in that report. And once again, your RPC members can help make sure that items are sufficiently addressed in the final product. So I don't know if there's any additional questions that people may have, but before we do that, here are the contact info. So here's Megan's. Megan is our project manager on the Rivercog site. I apologize that she wasn't able to join us this evening because she is running the meeting in Clinton tonight. So Clinton's planning and zoning commission meets at the same time as you. So she and Deputy Director Torrance Downs are presenting right now to Clinton. Also, if you email comments to westbrookrpc@gmail.com, we'll make sure those get to Bill Neal and Marie Farrell, as well as to Rivercog. And as I said, rivercogregionalplan.org is the project website. So,
Dan?
yes.
How is the general public going to be notified that it's ready for them to make comments on and stuff?
So I think under state statute, the regional plans need to have, I think, a 60-day a public review period. It may be 45, but it's either 45 or 60. We'll probably go over that. We'll be using the various contacts that we have through those who have signed up for notifications. We will be getting notifications out to all the first selectmen and asking them to get it out on their social media. We'll be putting it out on our social media. Lately, we've been buying ads on Facebook to try to get out to people. We've also been talking to the media and putting press releases out there. So we will try to be using the avenues that we have, whether it be social media, whether it be the town government, town websites, town social media. We'll be sending it to the planning and zoning commissions and to other commissions that we have emails for. So when this goes out to the public review, we'll be getting this out to as many people as possible to get comments and review and have them review it. And we will have public outreach before then as well. But in the intermediate phases of the project, as we're coming up with the draft recommendations and the draft document, it's going to be your regional planning commissioners or committee members who will be most intimately involved. So if you contact Bill or Marie, they should be able to give you either an answer or be able to connect you with the Rivercog staff member who can give you an answer if you have a question or a comment. So we'll be asking for your assistance in getting the word out, but we're going to also be using whatever methods we have. It's one thing that I think has been really a good thing about COVID is in general, attendance at some of these meetings has been greater than we would otherwise find. Our intro meeting, we maxed out on the number of people. We didn't know that we had a 100-person cap, and we had 200 people. So we ended up having to hold an encore presentation to accommodate all the people who got locked out. So that was a complete surprise to us. We were not expecting 200 people. So we're doing our best. COVID does make some things more difficult, but the fact that people can attend a meeting from home is, I think, for people who have access to technology, has been a good thing.
Thank you.
So are you going to have a public meeting like this once the plan is in draft form?
Yes. So we have scoped with Fitzgerald and Halliday some thematic meetings on specific topics, and it's also envisioned that at least one of the RPC meetings would be held as a large public presentation. You know, the RPC meetings are already a public meeting, but we'll actually make it a big one, where this will be the only item on the agenda, and we will have a presentation and question and answers. So when that will happen is still to be decided. It'll be towards the end of the process. We did leave a little room in our scope of work with Fitzgerald and Halliday to allow us to work with the RPC and work with the consultant to come up with the best public outreach process. And, you know, quite frankly, we got delayed by a number of things, but COVID was one of them. We had to completely scrap in-person meetings. So.
And the agendas for those meetings are posted on the Rivercog website so that somebody could have a look there and see whether or not there was something public. Exactly.
So we've updated our website. We've had the notices for these meetings have been on our website, for our website, our rivercog.org calendar, and also we've been posting meetings with town clerks as we normally do. So
great.
And it's also been fun. We've been getting a lot of questions from the Connecticut Examiner. I just did an interview for the Haddam Bulletin. You know, a lot of all the local little news outlets have been running things on the regional plan. So that's nice because we're trying to get the word out as much as we can.
And you know, all the towns have their own sort of, we have Westbrook events. We have our own sort of little newsletter thing. Have you been invited to talk or give something to those?
Not yet. Please get us that information. We will discuss this with whoever wants to write an article. Also, we will make sure that that we keep Eric informed and Marilyn informed and Noel informed. So we'll be asking them to use their email lists and to get the word out. So
yeah, usually it's a preset sort of press release kind of article already written kind of thing that you submit.
Okay, we can definitely provide that.
And there's one of those in just about every town.
Yeah.
Yes, and probably you can also then get it posted on the website too.
And what we've also found is that a lot of times the first selectman usually has a pretty good Facebook following. So that can be useful. So we're trying to use as much as we can to get the word out there.
Good.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And anybody remember, if you think of something that you forgot to say, just send them an email.
Yeah, and my email address is sgold@rivercog.org, and Margot's is mburns@rivercog.org. So you can write us directly. You can contact Bill or Marie or Eric or Marilyn or Noel. We're in touch with all of them. So all right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Planning Commission people, don't go away. Your meeting isn't over.
Good night.
Everybody else is welcome
Good
to stay, but
I'm not muted anymore.
okay. Moving on with our meeting, and since I didn't mention him in the beginning when we do the tape, Eric Reeve is also present for this meeting. The next on the agenda is subdivisions, none. Town and government agency referrals, none. Zoning referrals, none. Made this a good meeting to do this, so we didn't have those. Bills we have from general accounts for last fiscal year. Clerk for minutes, $105.12. And from the special funds for the town center sidewalk, $92.50 for Halloran and Sage on legal work for the easements.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
The motion by Marie, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I got it. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
Oh, I've been here the whole time.
We
I've been
know.
having trouble with my phone, guys. All right. You can't hear me. I see you smiling, Marilyn. I know I look like a picture of Vision of Beauty right now, but I'm scrambling here from work. All right. Okay, good.
Okay, I think we're in the middle of that.
I was here through the whole thing.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Yes.
Opposed or abstaining? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Next is the minutes for the regular meeting on July 13th. They were sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
Move they be accepted as presented.
Mm-hmm. Second.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Marie to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, carries unanimously. Other business, most of this is just reporting, and I think I'll go through most of it fairly quickly, and Eric, you can chime in if I miss something.
Okay.
The 2021 POCD, the last listening session was last Thursday. We had to cancel it. It will be rescheduled. And there was also a public information meeting scheduled for the end of August, or planned for the end of August, beginning of September. That is going to change to a survey, but the plan is moving along, and the committee is meeting by Zoom. The community connectivity grant status update. I believe we have a signed contract and just about everything in order. And it was most exciting when I rode down Route 1 and saw call before you dig marked for Kelowna. I went, aha, they're almost ready to start.
Good.
It's good news.
Steep grant application, that deadline was this week. It's been extended to August 28th. The plan is the amount that you can apply for was cut drastically. It used to be 500,000, and now because they want more municipalities to participate, it's about 125,000 per max. So we can't get as much done. We are working with our engineers, Nate Jacobson, Tom Fenton there, and to submit an application for what we do is for part of the sidewalks on Route 1 on the west end, and we think within that price range, if we use the money to pay for the engineering and the permitting, and then the money in the capital for the public works to actually build the sidewalks after we get them the permits, we could do sidewalks on the south side of Route 1 from Bellstone to the Monunkatisik Bridge, which is a huge section. They'd only be 4 feet wide instead of the 5 feet called for, because there are sections of existing good sidewalk there that are 4 feet wide. Those sections are allowing us to go farther, so we're hopeful that we can pull that all together. And the Board of Selectmen did approve submitting that grant application.
Good.
The Affordable Housing Plan grant, we did receive that grant in the amount of $15,000, which is the maximum amount, and that's to put together the Affordable Housing Plan, which by statute we have to complete by June of 2022. The grant, however, says we need to complete it by June of 2021, which puts it on the same track with our plan of conservation and development. We were hoping we could kind of do them in succession. We are negotiating a final wording for a letter of agreement for Glenn Chalder to do that also, because he's now got the background and has been doing a lot of the prep work for the Affordable Housing Plan as part of the POCD, so that we should be able to get the complete plan done for the amount of the grant, so the town doesn't have to expend any additional funds on it. Subdivision regulation update. We were hoping that we could start work on that around September. We may have to push that off just a little because Eric is only one person. We have a lot going on right now.
I'm trying.
But as soon as possible, we'd also start that, because I think the plan would probably be just to work with our current law firm and have the land use attorneys, one of the land use attorneys there, work on it so that we could just move it forward and get it out of kind of the dark ages, and get them out of the dark ages that they're in. There's quite a lot on Eric's plate at the moment. POCD implementation, I think if you look at all those other things I just listed, we're doing something. Questions on any of those?
At the last meeting, we talked about lighting at
Vista.
Vista, yep.
I saw a lamppost. Did you?
Yeah, I was just wondering if Eric had any. Last time we said Public Works was holding it up, but we questioned that.
Well, I went back and pulled the original conditions of approval from zoning. The original conditions of approval from zoning said explicitly, you know, put them up outside of your property there with cooperation of the John Riggio. And if you can't get John Riggio's cooperation, then delete them from the plan.
Oh.
So that's, again, I'm still sort of trying to get John to work with us on doing this, but obviously from Vista's standpoint, their take is if we can't get John's cooperation, we're just deleting him from the plan and we're done. So that's.
What does he have to do?
Well, it's on town right of way. So
what actions required by Public Works?
He either has to install them himself or he has to essentially give them permission to go onto his right of way to install the lights.
But that's not his permission to give.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can go around him and make it happen here.
Yeah.
But I saw a post installed.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me.
And there's one near parking. I don't know. I can't compare it to the plan in my head, but.
Well, let me go back and do some further research then. But the original approval basically said if you can't get cooperation from the town, just delete those two light posts. But let me see where we are on that.
Well, we might be able to get cooperation from the town from someone else.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, is Public Works, are they going to install them?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Vista would be required to install them as part of their improvements.
Oh, okay. I got you. He has to come with the right of way. All right. Very good. I got you.
I guess the other question would be, do we know anything about the improvements at the kayak landing on Old Clinton Road?
That I can give you an update on. They have been pushed back. They were originally supposed to happen in the spring. It looks like they're probably not going to happen until probably next fall at this point in time, given COVID and budget issues and everything else. But we are working. We have from DEP their certificate of approval for what we're planning to do there. We have some minor changes to the plans that I know John Reed just signed off on today so they can go forward. But we're in the process of getting that wrapped up, and I think we're pretty much good to go there.
When you say next fall, you mean fall 2020?
At this point, I think it's most likely to happen in fall 2020. Fall 2021, rather. It's not going to happen this fall.
Okay.
It's not going to happen this fall. It was supposed to happen at this point next spring. It may happen next spring, but if not, we're looking at next fall at this point in time. Okay, but we have, again, we have the state COP, which was an issue that we were concerned about getting. And we have a nearly final design, and we have cooperation from the next door neighbor there in exchange for giving him a slice of property so his shed is on his own property. Everything is coming together on it. And again, Bill, I can send you what those plans look like if you're interested in seeing what they look like.
Just curious as to update. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, why is there a delay?
A bunch of reasons. One involving the fact that we needed a COP from DEEP, and DEEP wasn't working for some period of time there.
Gotcha, but you have that now.
We have the COP now. We were also looking at making some minor changes to the plans that have to get signed off on by DEP and by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Those were reviewed today by John Rhee and the rest of our committee. I think those are good to go, and the state, I think, is going to sign off on them as well. So at this point, we have pretty much completed plans, and we have whatever we need to do. Again, the last piece of this is because all of our money is coming through U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I know budgetary things are all sort of in flux at the moment with what the federal government is spending on whatever. We still think we're getting the money from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but it may be later than we thought it was going to be.
I see.
As long as we get it, it's a good thing.
Again, our contact Rick Potvin over at U.S. Fish and Wildlife is pretty confident we're getting the money. He's not worried it's going to disappear. It's just a question of timing on that.
Sure.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was kind of like part of a report. So want to finish giving a report?
Okay. Originally, the Untitled Village application was supposed to be submitted for zoning for this month. After my review of it, it's gone back to be reworked a little bit. I'm expecting it'll be submitted for zoning rather to receive next month. So that's sort of the big thing on the horizon you need to sort of keep your eye out for. Beyond that, I'm getting some sort of revised things from the restaurants that are open. They did go to zoning this past month, and zoning has agreed to let them use their special permit hours of operation instead of the hours of operation that came out in Executive Order 7MM. So they're going to be open a little later at night than they otherwise would have done. The Executive Order did provide for that. Beyond that, I don't know that there's much else to talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about the murals at all, Marilyn, or is that not for this group? That's for, yeah.
Well, it is a Town Center Economic Development Commission initiative, and it's for, if you read the article in the Harbor News, potentially murals on the side of the Muffin Corner building facing the parking lot. There are two choices. They will be on display tomorrow if you're voting in the primary, and after that they will move to the empty storefront in the Neidlinger building so people can take a look and think about their preference, and then it will go to some kind of, we haven't figured it out yet, public meeting or public information session or whatever. And then once there's been a selection, we will start looking around for grants to actually pay for the painting.
I heard a little bit about that, guys. Do we have any idea what they might be? The murals?
We have 2 draft designs, and they're,
All right.
the pictures will be, and they really, this muralist spent a lot of time talking to us and finding out what the town was interested in, as opposed to the last 2 we wanted to just like give us a mural and we didn't like it.
That's good. That'll look nice coming down.
2 options were in the, I think the Harbor News printed one of them, the Shoreline Times printed both of them, and they will be, if you don't see them at the primary tomorrow, we're moving them to the window in the Neidlinger building on Wednesday, so everybody can take a look.
Very good. That will look nice though, coming down Boston Post Road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like it.
I think that's it. Rivercog, Marie, and Bill, anything more? And no correspondence, so that's it.
Okay.
Move we adjourn.
I missed all the fun.
Second.
No, you did.
Hey, Torrance, how are you?
Good, Marie. Yeah, I was over in your neighboring
Clinton.
town of Clinton.
Oh, good.
Thought I could catch you here, but I missed it.
Nope.
Oh, well.
Sorry. Okay, we have a motion by Bill, seconded by
Me.
Marie to adjourn at 8:29. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Nice to see everybody.